It was a typical Tuesday morning when I received the text that would change everything. I was sitting at my kitchen table, sipping my coffee and scrolling through emails from my marketing job when my phone buzzed. The message was from my mother-in-law, Diane. "We won't be attending Oliver's birthday party. I hope you understand that these celebrations are different for boys." The words felt like a punch to the gut. I stared at the screen, my heart racing with disbelief and anger. How could she dismiss my son's special day so casually? I gripped the edge of the table until my knuckles turned white, trying to process how anyone could be so cruel to a 5-year-old child. "Mommy, is Grandma coming to my party?" Oliver's innocent voice broke through my thoughts. He stood in the doorway, clutching his favorite superhero action figure, his big brown eyes wide with excitement. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words caught in my throat. How do you explain to your child that his grandmother thinks he's less worthy of celebration simply because he's a boy? Just then, my husband Jake walked in, loosening his tie after a long day at work. One look at my face, and he knew something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked, concern etched on his features. I thrust my phone at him, my voice trembling with frustration. "Your mother happened again." Jake scanned the message, his expression darkening. "I'll call her." "Don't bother," I said, watching Oliver retreat to the living room, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. "This isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. Remember Christmas? They gave your brother's kids those expensive gaming consoles, while Oliver got a coloring book." "Summer, they're just old-fashioned," Jake replied, running a hand through his hair, a gesture I recognized all too well. He was caught between his family and me. "Old-fashioned?" I laughed bitterly. "They attended your nephew's birthday last month and threw him a party that looked like a mini carnival, but our son, he's not worth their time." Jake sighed, his eyes filled with pain. "Let me talk to them. Maybe if I explain." "Explain what?" I lowered my voice, conscious of Oliver in the next room. "That their grandson deserves love, that he notices every time they slight him? He asked me last week why Grandma hugs his cousins more than him." The pain in Jake's eyes mirrored my own, but I needed more than sympathy. I needed action. "I'm done," I declared, my voice firm. "I'm done watching our son shrink himself to fit into their narrow view of what matters. This birthday party is going to be something they'll regret missing." As I spoke, my phone buzzed again. It was my brother-in-law, Mark. "Mom told me about the party. Try to see it from their perspective. Boys don't need the same kind of celebration." "Perspective?" I shoved my phone in Jake's face. "Your brother's perspective can go straight to hell." Jake reached for me, but I stepped back, my heart racing. "I need you to choose, Jake, right now. Are you with your son, or are you with them?" "That's not fair," he protested. "They're my family." "And what are we?" I shot back, my voice rising. Before he could answer, Oliver appeared again, this time holding his birthday invitation. "Mommy, can I show you my drawing for the party?" I forced a smile, my heart aching. "Of course, baby." He climbed onto a kitchen stool, spreading out his artwork, a colorful superhero scene with flying capes and bright explosions. "See, there's going to be a big battle." He pointed with pride, his excitement infectious. Looking at his joy, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about showing my son that his worth wasn't determined by anyone else's prejudices. I picked up my phone and dialed Emma, my best friend. "Hey, remember that event planning company you worked with last summer? The one that did that celebrity kids party? I need their number." "Something big?" Emma's voice was laced with concern. "Something that will make Diane and the rest of the family realize exactly what they're missing out on." As I watched Oliver continue to color, humming to himself, I felt a surge of determination. They want to skip his party? Fine. I was going to make it the kind of party people would talk about for years. "I'm in," Emma said without hesitation. What do you need? Jake was watching me, his expression a mix of worry and curiosity. I met his gaze head-on. I need you to decide where you stand, I told him, because this party isn't just a birthday celebration anymore. It's a statement. He looked at Oliver, then back at me, and finally nodded. I'm with you, both of you, always. Good, I said, already making mental notes. Because when I'm done, your family won't be boycotting our son's party. They'll be begging for an invitation. In that moment, watching Oliver draw his dream party while my husband finally took a stand, I knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, love, and showing the world, especially Diane, that every child deserves to be celebrated regardless of their gender. The days leading up to Oliver's birthday were a whirlwind of planning and preparation. I poured my heart into every detail, determined to create a celebration that would not only be unforgettable for my son, but also serve as a powerful statement to my in-laws. As I sat down with Emma to finalize the plans, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. We need to make this party epic, I said, flipping through a stack of colorful invitations. I want it to be a superhero extravaganza. Think big, like a comic book come to life. Emma grinned, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. How about we set up a superhero training camp? We can have obstacle courses, face painting, and even a photo booth with capes and masks. I nodded, feeling the energy in the room shift. Yes, and let's hire a magician to perform some tricks. Kids love that stuff. As we brainstormed, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that lingered in the back of my mind. What would Diane think when she saw the party? Would she try to undermine it just like she had done before? Are you sure about this? Emma asked, sensing my hesitation. I mean, it's a big statement you're making. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of my purpose. I have to do this for Oliver. He deserves to feel special and loved, especially on his birthday. I won't let anyone make him feel less than he is. The day of the party arrived, and the backyard was transformed into a vibrant superhero haven. Colorful banners hung from the trees, and a large inflatable bouncy castle stood proudly in the center of the yard. I had even set up a superhero training course with cones, hoops, and hurdles for the kids to navigate. As the guests began to arrive, I felt a rush of joy watching Oliver's face light up with excitement. His friends ran around in their superhero costumes, laughing and playing, and for a moment I forgot about the tension with my in-laws. But then, just as I was starting to relax, I saw them. Diane and her husband Tom walked through the gate, their expressions unreadable. My heart sank. "Mummy, look! Grandma's here!" Oliver shouted, running toward them with open arms. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as I watched Diane kneel down to embrace my son. "Happy birthday, Oliver," she said, her voice warm but laced with an undertone of something I couldn't quite place. "Thank you, Grandma," Oliver beamed, oblivious to the tension that hung in the air. I forced a smile as I approached them. "I'm glad you could make it," I said, trying to keep my tone light. Diane straightened up, her gaze sweeping over the decorations. "This is quite the setup, Sophie. I didn't expect you to go all out like this." "Oliver deserves it," I replied, my voice steady. "He's a superhero today, and I wanted to make sure he felt celebrated." Tom chimed in. "It looks like a lot of fun. I hope you're not spoiling him too much." I felt my blood boil at his comment, but I took a deep breath, reminding myself of my purpose. Every child deserves to feel special on their birthday, don't you think? Diane's expression shifted slightly, but she quickly masked it with a smile. "Of course, it's just different from what we're used to." I could feel the weight of her words, the implication that my way of celebrating was somehow wrong, but I refused to let it get to me. "Well, don't you join us for some games?" I suggested, trying to bridge the gap. "We have a superhero training course set up, and I think Oliver would love to have you participate." Diane hesitated for a moment, glancing at Tom, who shrugged. "Sure, why not?" she finally said, her tone begrudgingly accepting. As we moved to the training course, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this could be a turning point. Maybe, just maybe, they would see how much Oliver thrived in an environment filled with love and acceptance. The games began, and laughter filled the air as the kids raced through the obstacle course. I watched as Oliver led the charge, his little legs pumping with excitement. Diane and Tom joined in, albeit reluctantly, but I could see the corners of their mouths twitching upward as they cheered for their grandson. For a brief moment, it felt like we were a family, united in our love for Oliver. But deep down, I knew that the real test was yet to come. As the party continued, I felt a mix of joy and apprehension. The laughter of children filled the air, and Oliver was in his element, darting from one activity to another, his superhero cape fluttering behind him. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the tension with Diane and Tom was still simmering just beneath the surface. After the obstacle course, we gathered everyone for cake. I had ordered a magnificent cake shaped like Oliver's favorite superhero, complete with bright colors and edible glitter. As I brought it out, the kids erupted in cheers, and Oliver's eyes sparkled with delight. "Wow, Mommy, that's amazing!" he exclaimed, clapping his hands together. I set the cake down on the table, and as I prepared to cut it, I noticed Diane standing off to the side, her arms crossed. She was watching, her expression unreadable. I felt a pang of anxiety. Would she say something to undermine this moment? "Okay, everyone, let's sing Happy Birthday to Oliver," I called out, trying to keep the mood light. The kids gathered around, their voices ringing out in unison, and I couldn't help but smile as I watched Oliver beam with pride. But as the song ended and I began to cut the cake, Diane stepped forward. "Sophie, can I have a word with you?" she said, her tone serious. My heart raced as I nodded, leading her away from the crowd. "What's on your mind?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just want to say that I appreciate the effort you've put into this party," she began, her eyes scanning the decorations, "but I think you might be overdoing it a bit. Birthdays don't have to be so extravagant." I felt my stomach drop. "Diane, this isn't just about the decorations. It's about making Oliver feel loved and valued. He deserves to have a celebration that reflects who he is." She sighed, her expression softening slightly. "I understand that, but you have to realize that not every child needs a big party to feel special. Sometimes simpler is better." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "But Oliver isn't just any child. He's our son, and he deserves to be celebrated in a way that makes him feel important. I want him to know that he is worthy of love and joy, no matter what anyone else thinks." Diane's gaze flickered, and for a moment I thought I saw a hint of understanding in her eyes. "I just worry that you're setting him up for disappointment in the future. Not every birthday can be like this." I shook my head, feeling a surge of determination. "Maybe not, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't celebrate him fully when we can. I want him to grow up knowing that he is loved and cherished, regardless of what others may say." Diane opened her mouth to respond, but before she could, Oliver came bounding over, his face smeared with frosting. "Mommy, can I have a piece of cake now?" I turned to him, my heart swelling with love. "Of course, sweetheart, let's get you a big slice." As I knelt down to serve him, I could feel Diane's eyes on me, and I hoped that she was beginning to see things from my perspective. I wanted her to understand that this party was more than just a celebration. It was a declaration of Oliver's worth. As the kids devoured their cake and laughter filled the air once more, I felt a sense of triumph. I had taken a stand for my son, and no matter what Diane thought, I knew I was doing the right thing. Later in the afternoon, as the party began to wind down, I noticed that Diane had joined in on the fun more than I expected. She was laughing with the kids, helping them with the games, and even taking pictures with Oliver. It was a small victory, but it felt significant. "Thank you for coming, Diane," I said as she helped Oliver with a craft station. "I really appreciate you being here today." She looked at me, her expression softening. "I'm glad I came, Sophie. I see how happy this makes Oliver, and that's what matters most." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. Maybe this party was more than just a celebration, it was a chance for healing and understanding. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the yard, I watched Oliver play with his friends, his laughter ringing out like music. In that moment, I knew that I had done the right thing. I had stood up for my son, and in doing so, I had created a day filled with love, joy, and acceptance. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the backyard, I felt a sense of accomplishment wash over me. The party had been a success, and Oliver was surrounded by friends, laughter, and love. But as I began to clean up, I knew that the real work was just beginning. The next day, I sat down with Emma to discuss the details for the upcoming party. "We need to make this even bigger and better," I said, my excitement bubbling over. "I want to create an experience that Oliver will remember forever." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. Let's brainstorm some more ideas. What about a superhero training camp? We could set up different stations where the kids can complete challenges and earn badges." I loved the idea. Yes, we can have a strength challenge, a speed race, and even a creativity station where they can design their own superhero masks. As we continued to plan, I felt a surge of energy. This was more than just a party. It was a chance to show Oliver how special he was and to create memories that would last a lifetime. We spent hours discussing decorations, games, and activities. I wanted everything to be perfect, from the invitations to the party favors. I even decided to hire a local magician to perform tricks, adding an element of surprise and wonder to the day. "Let's also create a photo booth with superhero props," Emma suggested. "It'll be a fun way for the kids to capture the memories." I jotted down notes, my mind racing with ideas. "And we should have a superhero cake again, but this time let's make it a multi-tiered cake with different flavors. I want every kid to have something they love." As we finalized the details, I felt a sense of purpose. This party was going to be a celebration of Oliver's uniqueness, a day where he could shine and feel loved by everyone around him. The days flew by as I immersed myself in preparations. I spent evenings crafting decorations, designing invitations, and coordinating with vendors. I even reached out to Oliver's friends' parents to ensure they could all make it. But amidst the excitement, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling of anxiety about Diane and Tom. Would they try to undermine this celebration too? Would they show up and make snide comments about how I was spoiling Oliver? I decided to confront my fears head-on. I called Jake one evening after a long day of planning. "I need you to talk to your parents before the party," I said, my voice steady but firm. "I want them to understand how important this is for Oliver." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'll talk to them, but you know how they can be. They might not get it." "I know," I replied, feeling a mix of frustration and determination. "But I need them to at least try. This isn't just a party, it's about showing Oliver that he is loved and valued." "Okay, I'll do my best," Jake said, his tone resigned but supportive. "I'll make sure they know how much this means to you and Oliver." As the party day approached, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Excitement, anxiety, and determination. I wanted everything to be perfect, and I was ready to stand my ground if anyone tried to diminish Oliver's special day. Finally, the day of the party arrived. I woke up early, filled with anticipation. The sun was shining, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of summer. I could hardly contain my excitement as I set up the backyard, transforming it into a superhero paradise. I hung colorful banners, set up tables with superhero-themed decorations, and arranged the training stations. The bouncy castle was inflated and ready, and the magician was set to arrive shortly. As the first guests began to arrive, I felt a rush of joy. Oliver was dressed in his favorite superhero costume, his face painted with a bright mask, and he was bouncing with excitement. "Mommy, look at all my friends," he exclaimed, running to greet them. I smiled, my heart swelling with pride. This was what it was all about, creating a day filled with love, laughter, and unforgettable memories. As the party kicked off, I watched the kids run around, their laughter echoing in the air. I felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that I had created a space where Oliver could truly shine. But as I glanced toward the entrance, I saw Diane and Tom approaching. My heart raced, and I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. "Here we go," I whispered to myself, steeling my resolve. As Diane and Tom stepped into the backyard, I felt a mix of apprehension and determination. I had worked so hard to create a joyful atmosphere for Oliver, and I refused to let their presence overshadow the celebration. "Happy birthday, Oliver," Diane called out, her voice bright as she approached her grandson. "Grandma, look at my superhero costume," Oliver exclaimed, running to her with open arms. Diane knelt down to embrace him, and for a moment I saw a genuine smile on her face. It was a small victory, but I knew that the real test would come as the party unfolded. "Thanks for coming," I said, forcing a smile as I approached them. "I hope you're ready for some superhero fun." Tom nodded, his expression neutral. "Looks like you've put a lot of effort into this." "Thank you," I replied, trying to keep the conversation light. I wanted to make sure Oliver felt special today. As the kids began to gather around the bouncy castle, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The laughter and excitement of the children filled the air, and I focused on making sure everyone was having a great time. "Let's start with the superhero training camp," I announced, clapping my hands to gather the kids' attention. "Who's ready to become a superhero?" The kids cheered, their energy infectious. I led them to the first station where they would test their strength by lifting lightweight superhero weights. I watched as Oliver and his friends took turns, giggling and cheering each other on. Diane and Tom stood off to the side, observing the chaos with mixed expressions. I could see Diane's lips twitching as she tried to suppress a smile while watching the kids. "See, this is what it's all about," I said to Jake, who had joined me at the training camp. "Oliver is thriving, and that's what matters." "Yeah, he looks happy," Jake replied, glancing at his parents. "Maybe they're starting to see it." As the training camp continued, I felt a sense of pride swell within me. I had created an environment where Oliver could shine, and I was determined to keep the momentum going. Next up was the creativity station, where the kids could design their own superhero masks. I had set up tables with colorful markers, glitter, and various craft supplies. The kids dove in, their imaginations running wild as they created unique masks to wear for the rest of the party. "Mommy, look at mine," Oliver shouted, holding up a mask covered in bright blue and green glitter. "I'm going to be the best superhero ever." "You already are, sweetheart," I replied, my heart swelling with love. As the kids continued to craft their masks, I noticed Diane stepping closer, her curiosity piqued. "Can I help?" she asked, her tone softer than before. "Of course," I said, surprised but pleased. "We have plenty of supplies." Diane joined the kids at the table, and I watched as she engaged with them, helping them with their designs. It was a small moment, but it felt significant. Maybe this party was breaking down some of the barriers that had existed between us. As the afternoon wore on, the magician arrived, and the kids gathered around in eager anticipation. I felt a thrill of excitement as the magician began to perform tricks, pulling rabbits out of hats and making coins disappear. The children were mesmerized, their eyes wide with wonder. Deanne and Tom stood at the back watching the show. I caught a glimpse of Deanne's smile as she laughed at one of the magician's antics. It was a sight I hadn't expected to see, and it filled me with hope. After the magic show, it was time for cake. I gathered everyone around the table, and as I lit the candles on the multi-tiered superhero cake, I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the culmination of all my hard work and love for Oliver. "Okay, everyone, let's sing happy birthday to our superhero," I called out, my voice ringing with excitement. The kids erupted into song, their voices blending together in a joyful chorus. I watched Oliver's face light up as he took in the moment, surrounded by friends and family. As the song ended, I leaned down to Oliver. "Make a wish, buddy." He closed his eyes tightly, and after a moment, he blew out the candles with a big puff. The kids cheered, and I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "Time for cake," I announced, cutting generous slices and handing them out to the kids. As they devoured the cake, I caught Diane's eye. She was smiling, genuinely enjoying the moment. I felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, this party was changing her perspective. "Thank you for inviting us, Sophie," she said, her voice warm as she approached me. "I didn't realize how much fun this would be." I smiled back, feeling a sense of relief. "I'm glad you're here, Diane. It means a lot to Oliver." As the party continued, I felt a sense of unity forming. The laughter, the joy, and the love in the air were palpable, and I knew that this day would be etched in Oliver's memory forever. As the party progressed, the atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy. The kids were running around, their faces painted with colorful masks, and the sound of their giggles echoed through the backyard. I felt a sense of fulfillment watching Oliver bask in the happiness of his special day. After the cake, we moved on to the final activity, the superhero obstacle course. I had set up various challenges, including crawling under tables, jumping over cones, and balancing on a beam. The kids were eager to show off their superhero skills, and I could see the excitement in Oliver's eyes. "Are you ready to show everyone how strong you are?" I asked him, kneeling down to his level. "Yeah, I'm going to be the fastest superhero ever," he declared, his confidence shining through. As the kids lined up for their turn, I noticed Diane and Tom standing off to the side, watching intently. I felt a mix of anxiety and hope. Would they join in, or would they remain distant observers? "Come on, you two, join us," I called out, gesturing for them to participate. "It'll be fun." Diane hesitated for a moment, glancing at Tom, who shrugged. "All right, let's give it a try," she said, her tone surprisingly upbeat. I felt a rush of excitement as they stepped forward. "Great, we need all the superheroes we can get," I cheered, clapping my hands. As the obstacle course began, I watched Diane and Tom navigate the challenges alongside the kids. Diane crawled under the table, her laughter ringing out as she struggled to keep up with the energetic children. Tom followed suit, and I couldn't help but smile at the sight. "Look at Grandma go," I called out, encouraging Oliver, as he cheered for his grandmother. Diane beamed at Oliver, her eyes sparkling with joy. "I'm coming for you, superhero," she shouted, her competitive spirit shining through. The kids cheered them on, and I felt a warmth spread through me. This was the connection I had hoped for, a moment of unity and joy that transcended past grievances. As the obstacle course came to an end, I gathered everyone for a group photo. "All right, superheroes, let's capture this moment," I said, positioning them in front of the colorful backdrop I had created. With everyone smiling and posing in their superhero masks, I felt a surge of happiness. This was a day of celebration, love, and acceptance, and I was grateful to see Diane and Tom embracing it. After the photo session, I pulled Diane aside for a moment. "Thank you for participating today. It means a lot to me and Oliver," I said, my voice sincere. She smiled, her expression softer than I had seen before. I had a great time, Sophie. I didn't realize how much fun it could be to let loose like this. I felt a flicker of hope. I think it's important for Oliver to see that we can all come together, no matter our differences. He deserves to feel loved by everyone. Diane nodded, her gaze thoughtful. You're right. I've been too focused on my own expectations. I need to remember that it's about what makes him happy. As the party began to wind down, I felt a sense of accomplishment. The day had been a success, and I had managed to create an environment where Oliver felt cherished and celebrated. As the last guests began to leave, I took a moment to reflect on the day. The laughter, the joy, and the connections made were everything I had hoped for. Mommy, can we do this again next year? Oliver asked, his eyes wide with excitement. Absolutely, sweetheart. We'll make it even bigger and better, I replied, pulling him into a hug. As I watched the last of the guests depart, I felt a sense of peace. I had stood up for my son, created a day filled with love, and even managed to bridge the gap with Diane and Tom. In that moment, I knew that I had done the right thing. I had shown Oliver that he was worthy of love and celebration, and I hoped that this day would be a stepping stone toward a more united family. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the backyard, I took a moment to breathe in the aftermath of the party. The laughter of children still echoed in my ears, and the remnants of colorful decorations fluttered gently in the evening breeze. I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the day and for the connections that had been forged. After the last guests left, I began to clean up, but I was filled with a sense of accomplishment. Oliver was still buzzing with excitement, recounting every detail of the day. Mommy, did you see how fast I was in the obstacle course? I was the best superhero, he exclaimed, his eyes shining with pride. You are amazing, buddy. I'm so proud of you, I replied, my heart swelling with love. You really showed everyone what a superhero looks like. As I gathered the leftover cake and party supplies, I noticed Diane and Tom lingering by the gate. They had stayed longer than I expected, and I felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Thank you for inviting us, Sophie, Diane said, her voice warm. I really enjoyed today. It was nice to see everyone having so much fun. I smiled, feeling a sense of relief. I'm glad you came. It meant a lot to Oliver to have you here. Tom chimed in. You did a fantastic job with everything. The kids had a blast. Thank you, I said, feeling a sense of validation. I just wanted to create a day that Oliver would remember. Diane stepped closer, her expression thoughtful. I've been reflecting on how I've approached things in the past. I realize now that I may have been too focused on my own expectations instead of what truly matters, Oliver's happiness. I felt a flicker of hope at her words. It's important for him to feel loved and accepted by all of us. I want him to know that he can always count on his family. Diane nodded, her eyes sincere. I want to be a better grandmother. I want to support him and be part of his life in a meaningful way. Tom placed a hand on Diane's shoulder, and I could see the unity between them. We're all learning, and I think today was a step in the right direction, he added. I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. Thank you for being open to this. It means a lot to me and to Oliver. As we stood there, I realized that this moment was a turning point. The barriers that had once divided us were beginning to crumble, and I felt a sense of hope for the future. Let's make a plan to get together more often, I suggested. Maybe we can have family game nights or outings. I want Oliver to grow up surrounded by love from all sides. Diane's face lit up. I would love that. We can start planning something for next month. As we exchanged ideas, I felt a sense of excitement. This was the beginning of a new chapter for our family, one where love and acceptance would take precedence over past grievances. After saying our goodbyes, I turned to Oliver. who was still buzzing with energy. "Did you have the best birthday ever?" I asked, ruffling his hair. "Yes, it was the best. Can we do it again next year?" he replied, his enthusiasm infectious. "Absolutely, we'll make it even more special," I promised, feeling a sense of determination. As I tucked him into bed that night, I reflected on the day's events. I had faced my fears, stood up for my son, and created a celebration that would be etched in our memories forever. "Good night, my little superhero," I whispered, kissing his forehead. "Good night, Mommy, I love you," he said, his eyes fluttering closed. As I left his room, I felt a sense of peace. The journey ahead wouldn't be without its challenges, but I was ready to embrace them. I had learned that love could bridge gaps, and I was determined to foster a family environment where Oliver could thrive. With a heart full of hope, I looked forward to the future, knowing that together we could create a world filled with love, acceptance, and endless possibility. As the days turned into weeks after Oliver's birthday party, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The connections I had fostered during the celebration began to blossom into something more meaningful. Diane and Tom reached out more often, and we started planning regular family gatherings. One sunny Saturday afternoon, we organized a picnic at the local park. I was excited to see how the dynamics had shifted. Diane arrived with a basket filled with homemade treats, and I could see the effort she had put into making the day special for Oliver. "Look what I brought," she exclaimed, setting the basket down. "I made his favorite sandwiches and some cookies." Oliver's eyes lit up as he rushed over to his grandmother. "Thank you, Grandma. You're the best," he said, throwing his arms around her. Watching their interaction filled me with warmth. It was a stark contrast to the previous family gatherings where Oliver had often been overlooked. I felt a sense of relief wash over me, knowing that Diane was genuinely trying to be a part of his life. As we spread out the picnic blanket, I noticed Tom engaging with Oliver, teaching him how to fly a kite. The sight of them laughing together brought a smile to my face. It was a moment I had longed for, a moment where Oliver felt accepted and loved by his grandparents. "Can I help?" I asked, joining them as they struggled to get the kite airborne. "Of course, we need all the help we can get," Tom replied, his tone lighthearted. As we worked together, I felt a sense of camaraderie forming. The barriers that had once existed were slowly dissolving, replaced by laughter and shared experiences. After a successful launch, the kite soared high into the sky, and Oliver squealed with delight. "Look, Mommy, it's flying," he shouted, pointing excitedly. "It's beautiful, just like you," I replied, my heart swelling with pride. As the afternoon wore on, we shared stories, played games, and enjoyed the delicious food Diane had prepared. I could see the joy in Oliver's eyes as he interacted with his grandparents, and it filled me with gratitude. Later, as we sat together on the blanket, I turned to Diane. "Thank you for being here today. It means so much to me and to Oliver." She smiled, her eyes reflecting sincerity. "I'm grateful for the chance to be part of his life. I realize now how important it is to show him love and support." Tom nodded in agreement. "We want to be involved. We want to create memories with him." I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. I want us to be a family that celebrates each other no matter what. Oliver deserves that. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park, I felt a sense of hope for the future. We had come a long way, and I was excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, we continued to build on this newfound connection. Family game nights became a regular occurrence, and we even planned a weekend trip to the beach. Each gathering brought us closer together, and I could see the positive impact it had on Oliver. One evening, as I tucked him into bed, he looked up at me with wide eyes. "Mommy, I love having Grandma and Grandpa over. Can we do it every week?" I smiled, my heart full. "Of course, sweetheart. We can make it a tradition." As I kissed him goodnight, I reflected on how far we had come. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. I had learned the importance of standing up for my son and creating an environment where he felt loved and accepted. In the months that followed, I continued to advocate for Oliver, ensuring that he knew he was worthy of love and celebration. I watched as he blossomed, his confidence growing with each passing day. The bond between Oliver and his grandparents deepened, and I felt a sense of peace, knowing that he was surrounded by love. As I looked toward the future, I felt hopeful. We were building a new chapter together, one filled with laughter, love, and acceptance. I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them as a family, united in our love for one another. And in that moment, I realized that the greatest gift I could give Oliver was the knowledge that he was cherished, not just by me, but by all those around him. With a heart full of gratitude, I embraced the journey ahead, ready to create a lifetime of memories together.